Hello. I'm good. I'm ready to talk about more dense um battle tactics and politicking.
Don't worry. There we go. Welcome to another episode of the Extra Credits Book Club podcast. I'm Dekker. She's Nightmother. We're here to talk about Dawn, the first book in the Legend of the Galactic Heroes series by Yoshinki
Mm-hmm.
Tanaka. And we're doing chapters 3 through 5 this evening, which are low-key chapters. To say that nothing happens wouldn't be fair.
We
But
learn a little bit more about some of our main characters, which is and
right.
like the relationships in their lives a little bit.
Yes.
The barest amount.
Yeah. Chapter 3 starts out with the third party Fazan, or however he pronounces it.
Fazane.
Fazane. Yeah.
Which
Fazzan.
how did he look at that word and he was like, I'm gonna just put a little I in there.
Yeah. There is none. It's Fazan. But they I forget the names of the people who, like the guy who's in charge of Fazan. Because it's like a third, essentially a third faction that is independent of the Free Planets Alliance and the Galactic Empire.
Yeah.
That's
They're
pretty
not
capitalistic.
Yeah, like it's described as not being powerful enough to be a threat to either one of them, but not weak enough so as to be ignored. And it's kind of like always flirting with each side because it
Right.
would be a good ally to have. But I think they're kind of a little loyal to the Empire, a little bit.
They pay more money
Right,
because Fazan does business with everybody.
right. All I know is that there are two men talking. One of them has great posture, and I think his official title is the Black Fox of Fizan,
Right.
ruler for life.
Yeah.
But I don't know his name.
Um, God, I wish I could remember. But it is, like, he's a great big bald man.
Yeah, that's all we need to know. Rubensky? Ooh, is that it?
I think that's his crony.
Okay.
But it could be. I don't remember.
No.
I just kind of got swept up because we get kind of a little bit of lore into how, what it's like to live on all these different planets.
That's right.
Like they say, you know, some planets have a 12-hour day cycle, some have like 36 hours, but everybody kind of adopts a 24-hour cycle, and
Yeah.
they just kind of like deal with it. Like sometimes the day is going to be nighttime.
Mhm. We like get a little bit of information about like the atmosphere and like the flora and fauna on this planet. I
Yeah.
didn't really retain any of it, but I was like, "Oh, that's fun that they're giving us
Yeah.
these details."
It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's fun to get little details about it.
Yeah. And I think they're having a conversation, kind of like a little debrief about the Battle of Astarte. Is it Astarte that they
Astarte,
something like that?
six
The
one,
battle
half
that
dozen the
we
other.
talked about, yeah, last time.
Right.
And,
Because it was
what
kind of a big deal. Everybody went, wait, hold on a minute, what happened?
yeah, who are these guys? Reinhard who?
Yeah, because it's like the first time ever that both sides just kind of went, all right, we'll call it a draw. And then they
Mhm.
went back to their respective homes. And
Yeah, and
go ahead.
They're, like, really intrigued by Yang. They're like, "Who is this guy? Get me his contact information. I wanna send him a LinkedIn invite,"
Yeah.
and then kinda just, like,
Who
wanna
are his
keep an eye
people?
on him. Mhm.
And then that's when we head over to the Empire, where laurels and praise are being showered upon our boy, Reinhard von Lohengrin.
Right.
It's this big, huge ceremony where everybody's there, including the Emperor. And they're just like, very good job, you've done so well. Look at you, you beautiful blue-eyed boy.
You man of incomparable beauty with
Yeah.
the iciest eyes in any galaxy or star system.
I believe they make him a Imperial Field Marshal, which I guess is pretty dope.
Yeah, who knows? These titles mean absolutely nothing to me, and all of them are always getting, like, specially double promotions all the time.
Yeah. Kyrkais
So
even gets promoted because Reinhardt did.
that's right, and now people have to call him Your Excellency, and
Yeah.
he's, like, a little embarrassed by that, but I think part of him's a little happy. Um, but there was a moment at the beginning of this chapter where the narrator was talking about the weights and measures systems where, I don't know why, I don't remember how this factored into literally anything, but they were just talking about, like, more calendar things and how for a while, like, they kept Earth's standard systems of weights and measures, but Emperor Rudolph for a time tried to standardize everything according to his own measurements.
Oh, that's
So
right.
his height of his body was 1 Kaiserfaden, and then the weight of his body was 1, like, Kaiser Gentner or something like that, and he was like, "Perfect, like, this it needs to be how we change the way we measure things," but, the treasurer at the time was like, "Jesus Christ, dude," and he went and, like, did a whole cost analysis on how changing everything like, how much it would cost to change everything, and then the plan was quickly abandoned, but I really
Yeah.
liked that because that is the most boss way of deflecting from, like, a power-hungry executive at any company who's like, "I wanna make this change," and you just put together, like, a full analysis of how much things would cost to get them to, like,
Ooh, boy, I'd love to do that
abandon
for
that
you,
opinion.
but it's going to cost us a fortune.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Guess we'll just keep the regular ones."
Yeah. And I think it's just like kilometers,
I think so, yeah.
things of that
Metric, the
nature.
superior
Fahrenheit, I
system.
think Celsius? No. They had temperatures in there, I forgot.
Temperatures were measured somehow.
Um, but with Reinhardt getting his those like nobility shoulder pads with the like gold tassels that come down, he finally gets those, and the rest of
Right?
the nobility is furious
Mhm.
because this nobody's getting all these laurels and they're just stamping their feet. And he like Reinhardt loves it. He doesn't necessarily love the titles and like the awards and stuff like that. He doesn't particularly care about those. He just cares that they mean he's rising higher than some of the nobility, so he can like lord that over them. Like
Yeah, he yeah,
his whole plan is to just stick it to the nobility, and so
and
far
then
it's
take
going great.
over. Yeah, his plan is going perfectly, but I love how at the very beginning of the like, there's, like, that sick trumpet solo, and then the emperor's about to make his, entrance, and they're like, the announcer is all like, "Ruler of all humanity, sovereign of all the universe," like,
Yeah,
People Magazine's sexiest man alive for the last 52 years,
yeah, it's very
running.
much like Idi Armin's self-given title,
Yeah,
like the lords of all the fishes in the sea and the birds on the air and shit like that.
yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. You can't just give yourself those kind of titles.
No, it's very like Napoleon crowning himself emperor energy.
Right.
But good for him, you know? But we get a little bit more information about this emperor, Friedrich the Fourth, and how his wife died 10 years ago from the common cold because even though they managed to eradicate cancer, like,
Yeah,
the cold will still get you.
it still persists.
Yeah, and how Anne Rose, Reinhard's sister, is kind of his de facto wife at this point,
Yeah,
but because she isn't highborn, she's not allowed to appear with him publicly anywhere. So she just kinda gets to, like, hang out and, like, be at her own house, which
it's
is, like, a
very
pretty sweet deal.
it's very Lady Jessica,
Very true.
without any of like the authority that Lady Jessica had.
Yeah. Or, like, did are they genuinely in love? I doubt it. Maybe
I don't know.
maybe she, like, dotes on him like a dad, except
I
do
don't.
they fuck?
They'd have to.
Well, he's very old now, so maybe
Yeah,
it's not
he's
as much as it
decrepit
used
and
to be.
gross, so maybe it's
Mhm.
not quite as possible.
Maybe just on holidays.
But he's been that way a while, and
True.
neither Anne Rose nor Reinhardt nor Kierkeis are particularly old.
No.
So,
'Cause okay, Reinhardt's 20 at this point, and
right,
Anne
and he
Rose
was
is
like
older than
5.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, so she can't be that much older, like 10 years tops.
I don't even know if that, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And like a car
He's like
came to like
80.
pick her up when
Yeah.
Reinhardt was like 6.
Right. Ugh.
So she was like 10.
No. Oh.
Hey man, nobility's wild.
Ugh. Okay.
I
Not
don't
gonna think
think the
about that
author
anymore.
particularly. I don't think the author thought that one through.
No, the author's too busy describing how beautiful Reinhard is at any given opportunity to think about
Through.
the logistics of child mistresses.
But the biggest takeaway from this chapter is that we get introduced to our problematic fave, Paul Oberstein, who turns up and he's like, "Yeah, hi, I want to meet Reinhardt." And Reinhardt's like, or he's like to Kierkegaard, he's like, "I want to meet Reinhardt." He's like, "Who the fuck are you, dude?"
Mhm.
And he's like, I'm Paul Oberstein. You can tell by my robot eyes."
Yeah. They
So
always
they,
describe him as, like, his salt and pepper hair and dour expression, like, he gives off Snape vibes, but
yeah,
if Snape was less greasy.
yeah. If he was less greasy, more robot eyes, and essentially just like self-preservation machine.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation which essentially amounts to Paul Oberstein being like, "I think you're gonna go places, so can I hang out with you guys?" And like, "Fuck you, this isn't like cool kids only, bitch."
Yeah. Me and my best friend only, okay?
And he's like, "Okay, fine, bye."
There's a little moment that I would be remiss to, leave out where Reinhardt is getting his accolades from the Emperor,
Yeah.
and there's, like, l everybody in this auditorium, throne room, whatever, is openly thirsting after Reinhardt, and
He's so
it says
beautiful.
yeah, and then there's a little aside that's like, "If not for the Emperor's indulgence of his older sister and the expression on Reinhardt's face, the entire kingdom would think Reinhardt and the Emperor were, like, engaging in some kind of sovereign/subject sodomy."
Oh yeah.
Why? Why would we think that?
That's a
Now you've
super
just
weird
put
way to
that
put it.
idea in our head. Yeah, like, you could just say he's super hot, but it's like,
It could
sovereign
be
subject sodomy.
it could be because the nobility is so silted and essentially just like withering away
Yeah.
that they have no idea how to read people anymore. So they just see like they see Reinhardt who is probably staring hateful daggers at the emperor, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, he wants to butt fuck him." And it's like, "No, that's not the vibe."
Was, like, pederasty a thing in the Empire?
Well, didn't what's his name? Von Goldenbaum remove the four evils?
Well,
You
that's
know,
right, but
homosexuality.
what did he count? Is homosexuality, like,
Oh, I'm sure
if
it
it
was 100% butt sex.
so not like an old dude rubbing his bare boner in between, like, the legs of a boy.
If it was good enough for the Roman Empire, it was good enough for this one.
Good point. Anyways, I needed to mention that, and now I'm okay to move on.
But after the ceremony and after they hang out with Paul and tell him he's not cool enough to sit at the cool kids table, they meet both Reinhardt and Kierkeis meet up with Anne Rose, who
Oh, that's right.
always gives off the vibe that she's kind of on drugs.
Yeah, like, she's microdosing on MDMA
Yeah, because she's
every
just like,
single
"Oh, hey boys, how's it going? It's so nice to see you." And they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
"You good?"
She's like, "How are you guys doing? Do you want some pie? I made it myself, even though the kitchen staff hate it when I go in there. Anyway, it kind of tastes bad because I didn't make it good, but try it anyway." And Kierkeis is absolutely smitten. He's just like, "I'm sure it's the most wonderful thing I'll ever try, Anne Rose."
Mhm. Yeah, he's thinking about, like, how all he's ever wanted is to have the 2 of them, Reinhardt and Rose, like, be completely dependent on him and rely on him, and he's like, "If I'd been my age that I am now 10 years ago, I would have prevented the Emperor from taking Anne Rose, I would have run away with the 2 of them, and we would be happy, just the 3 of us, somewhere."
Yeah, what a
Bless his
fantasy
heart.
to become like an entire family's sugar daddy.
Right?
But I think that's kind of it. After Anne Rose is like, "Okay, I gotta go now. Bye bye."
I think she has a little heart to heart with Kierkeis for a moment where she's like, "Please watch over my brother. He's all like I have. He only will listen to you.
Yeah,
He's a baby antelope galloping too close to the cliffs."
yeah. And Kierkeis is just like, "My life's purpose is this now.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you say." But then in chapter 4, we switch on over Wol Yang Wen-li, who's receiving the same treatment, receiving his laurels, getting his awards. Everybody's patting him on the back. "Very good job you did out there, Yang."
Mhm, he
And
has a
he's,
similar attitude to Reinhardt. He's like, "Fuck this." Like,
yeah, he would rather be anywhere else.
yeah.
Um, but what's like where Emperor Frederick had this rousing speech about how dope the Empire is, and damn, look at Reinhardt. This guy, is the embodiment of what it means to be part of the Empire. Ooh, yes. The Free Planets Alliance is like, "Isn't it great that millions of people died so that we could win? Hmm? Isn't it great? Everybody, they're all dead. And it's all for our benefit. Man,
Yeah.
war's so sweet, dude." And
Their
I,
deaths were so beautiful, don't you think, everyone?
yeah, even though Yang saw like 4 people get sucked out into space,
Yeah.
nobody died well. Like, people were like, who was it? That guy Lap died coughing up blood, and he's like, "Here, give this to my wife," or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah, it
beautiful
was
deaths.
a fun.
Uh, and I forget the name of like this president or whatever. I forget his
I
actual
I
title.
couldn't understand it. It was a very European name, and I was like, "That's the name," and then I never wrote it down. Does it
Yeah,
matter what his name was? At the time, I was kind of like, "I wish I cared enough to look this up."
right. But I think after his little speech, a woman comes up and she's like, "Hey, everyone, I'm the my fiance was someone who died during this battle," and they're like, "Hey, what a what an honor it was to be almost married to someone who's dead now. And she essentially tells the president, like, fuck you. Fuck your stupid platitudes. Like, where have you, like, when our people are dying, what are you doing?
Yeah, but she does it in a smart way where she's very calm and collected. And this is right after everyone was like, "Yay, alliance!" And Yang doesn't stand up, and everyone's like standing and cheering, and everyone's like, "Why the fuck aren't you standing up?" He's like, "I'm exercising my rights in a free society
Yeah.
to not stand up and to not tell you why I'm not standing up. I'm tired." And then she comes in and she's like, you keep yelling about how great death is, but like you're still alive. And where's your family, by the way? Like, what have they sacrificed? And he's like, this woman is hysterical. Get her into a room to
Yeah.
compose herself. Anyways, play the anthem. Bye.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. The call's breaking up. I gotta go.
Mhm. And I think Yang knows her.
I think they went to school together.
Yeah, I think that was like their little like trio of friends, and she chose the other dude, and it sounds like he maybe had some feelings for her because he has a twinge of
Yeah.
forlornness or something when
Yeah.
he's thinking about how she made a good choice marrying that other guy.
And a lot of people took umbrage with the fact that Yang was like, "No, I will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because
Mhm.
I'm tired."
And
But
I
as
too.
he's like leaving the ceremony, this old woman comes up to him and she's like, "Look, there he is, the hero of El Facile." And she's got like this little boy with him, and she tries to get, like, she tells him this story about how her husband and the boy's dad are also dead from
Yeah.
this war. And she's like, and he wants to be a soldier when he grows up too. Isn't that great? And Yang's like, no, no, it's not.
Yeah, I want peace. I don't want anyone to have to be a soldier. She's like, "Can my grandson shake your hand?" He's like,
I
I guess."
guess. And then we're introduced to the sweetest boy in the whole story, Julian Mintz,
Mhm.
who
Bless his heart.
apparently in this world, because battles usually offer up millions of casualties, there's a lot of kids out there without parents.
Mhm.
So you get a government subsidy to take a war orphan, and like they completely pay everything for the child. They pay you to take it. Like they just throw money at these kids.
Assuming that they too join the military,
Right.
because I guess if they don't, you have to pay back all of the child support that the government gave you.
But Yang took on a ward, and it happened to be this young boy, Julian Mintz. Mintz. And he's just the sweetest, goodest boy who is perfect for taking care of Yang.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate Virgo with like his household management skills. He basically shows up and he just ends up kind of being his like personal assistant. And he's like utterly devoted to Yang. He just reorganizes the house, makes sure
Yeah.
everything is functioning at the optimal level.
There's a great little paragraph that says, like, when Julian first got there, he had to show Yang how to use all of the, like, electronic equipment in his house because it had collected dust because Yang was like, I don't know how to use it, so fuck it, I won't use it. Like, his microwave didn't work, and
It was
Julian's
like,
like, you have to turn it on, bud.
yeah, just plug it in.
He set up all that stuff, and apparently Julian's very good in school.
Yeah, like wins a bunch of awards. Yang is just so indifferent towards it though. Like
Yeah,
he doesn't
he doesn't
really
really
notice.
care. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, as long as you aren't failing, that's good enough for me, bud.
Mhm.
He's like, but I'm doing so well. And he's like,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, he gets awards for, like, school and sports and a bunch of things, and has no idea what they're for, why he got them, and
Yeah,
just is so indifferent.
doing
But I
his
think
patented like head scratch.
yeah,
Wow,
I
that's
think
great.
Julian, like, won him over at the beginning of their relationship by making him, like, the best cup of tea he's ever had or something like that.
Yeah, put brandy in it.
Right, right.
Um,
Oh my god, and the narrator at one point, he's supposed to say aficionado, but he goes, "Officiando," and I was like, "What the fuck are you saying right
oh
now?"
yeah, I remember
I
hearing that.
was like, "What? Is
That's
that a
not
word?"
correct. That's not a word. Um, and this is where shortly after Yang goes home to hang out with Julian and kind of tell Julian like, yeah, the award ceremony was fine. I didn't pay too much attention to it because personally don't care. And Julian's like, how can you not care? Like everyone thinks you're this wonderful hero, and he's like, yeah, whatever. Not my concern, to be honest. Um, and then the Proud Boys show up. It's like almost literally the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
These guys who imagine that they are super patriots. They turn up in their little death masks and are like, "Hey Yang, how dare you not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, you son of a bitch!" And they throw
Yeah.
like this riot grenade in his house.
Yeah, and, like, break a bunch of dishes, like, all of the dishes,
Yeah,
including the only piece of ceramics in his father's collection that was actually real.
yeah, I remember that. That was pretty good. Now his father's legacy is entirely gone.
Yeah. Yang is just kind of, like, mildly inconvenienced. He's, like,
Yeah,
more worried about Julian, but he's like,
uh,
"God, this is
yeah.
what a
Even
hassle."
even when their grenade is thrown through his window, he's like, "Where did they get that?"
Yeah. He could give a fuck about the things of his that are being destroyed.
And in true like fake patriot bullshit, Yang turns on the sprinklers outside and they run away.
Yeah, immediately.
Like they get wet and they're like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here, boys! Roll up the truck, we going!" It's really embarrassing, but also like super tracks.
Yeah.
And Yang has, I think, he ponders like how is a patriotic. They're like the patriotic crusaders or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what they call themselves. And, like, but I think they're wearing, like, red hoods or something like that,
Yeah.
and masks, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Like hockey mask kind of thing. But
Right.
Yang gives like 4.5 seconds worth of ponderance to why the Proud Boys have like military grade gear. He thinks that's
Right.
awfully weird. But then he's just like the next moment he's like, well, anyway, gotta clean up the house.
Yeah. And then he gets a call from, like, one of his really good friends, Alex something, whose name I've heard a million times. His last name, I can't pronounce it to save my life. Because it's spelled a lot different than it sounds. In my mind, the way it sounds is like Kesselnick, but it's not that. It's spelled like Kazerne or something like that. Is it like I have
Oh
no
boy.
idea.
I don't remember.
It's his bestie, I think. If he has a bestie, it's this guy, but I don't know. They've, like, worked together for a long time, but he's like, "Anyways, you're being summoned, like, the director of the Alliance's joint operation something something
Yeah.
wants to see you."
Please come
And
down to the office.
yeah, he has a cute moment with Julian before he leaves where he's like, "I think things are gonna get bad for a little bit." And Julian was like, "Do whatever you think is the best, like, you're the best, I love you. Do whatever you think is right."
Yeah. And
And
he gets summoned to like the headquarters
mhm,
and they're like, very congratulations on your great success in the Battle of Astarte, so we're giving you your own fleet. And he's like, ugh,
Why?
I don't want this. And they're like, also, your fleet comes with a catch. You have to take, because you're so great at winning impossible situations, we're going to give you an impossible task. To take the Fortress Iserlon in the Iserlon corridor. And he's like, beg your pardon?
Yeah, by the way, your fleet is actually like half a fleet.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You get a very cool ship, though.
Yeah.
And he's like, it can't be done. And they're like, well, you've proven yourself to be very capable at doing things that can't be done, so good luck, my friend. And he's like, damn it. You know, you answer your phone, then all it does is ring.
Yeah.
So he is like, well, I have to do this. Because if I don't, then this will never stop. But if I take the Iserlon corridor, then maybe there's a chance I can put an end to this war once and for all.
Yeah, or at least for the next few decades. I think all he's reasonably hoping for is to put an end to wartime while he's alive so he can just kind of chill out
Yeah, not do
and study
anything.
history and not have to kill more people.
But he calls he like sends for a dude named von Schoenkopf
That's right.
who
Walter.
yes, Walter von Schoenkopf or Kopf
Mhm.
who was like one of a handful of imperial defectors.
Mhm.
And I did appreciate that there's a point where they thought it was a bit, because there was 13 of them, right?
I think so.
And they didn't like that because 13 is an unlucky number. And
Oh, yeah.
there was a moment where they were all kind of reflecting about how no one remembers why 13 is unlucky.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, but he's talking to Schoenkopf, and he's like, "We're gonna take Iserlon." He's like, "Ha! Don't be ridiculous. It's impossible. You can't do it." And he's like, "Well, I kind of have to." And he tells Schoenkopf, like, if I do it, and there's a chance at a lasting peace, then I might as well give it the old college try. And Schoenkopf is like, by God, I like your gumption. Let's do it.
Yeah, and he like Schoenkamp was like, "How do you know that you can trust me? Because if you like,
Oh,
has he
that's right, yeah.
defected before? Maybe he'll defect again. Maybe he's, a spy for the Empire." And he's like, "Well, I don't have any control over that. If you betray me, it fails. I look bad. My manager looks bad. And that's that."
Yeah.
He was like, "Okay." Because this dude is part of he has this, like, special infantry regiment called the Rose Ritter or something like
Rosenritter.
that. Rosenritter, that's right. And that's the kind of, like, A team who's gonna be in charge of
Yeah.
infiltrating the ship. And Yang has a ship, the fortress. And Yang has asked for an Imperial warship and 200 Imperial uniforms
Right.
to take this fortress.
Also, we should probably explain why Iserlon is such an important fortress.
Mhm.
And to do so, I have graphics.
Perfect.
But it should be noted that the Galactic Empire currently holds Iserlon. and 6 attempts have been made by the Free Planets Alliance to take it, and every single one of them has failed, like disastrously.
Yeah.
But let's bring up the graphic, and we'll explain so that you guys can understand why they want this ball out in the middle of space so bad. So, as you can see, we've got the Free Planets Alliance on the left side here, and the Galactic Empire on the right side. Now, in between, you can see Fazan, which is down on the bottom. And there's only, like, one way across that little corridor through Fazan. And Fazan does not let the FPA or the Empire cross their territory. They're like, no, this is not a fucking highway. Take off. So up at the top, the Fortress Iserlon is the only way across. The only way for both Free Planets Alliance and Empire to cross over into each other's territories. And in the middle of that little corridor is a fortress that is like the Death Star on steroids. It's got, like, it can hold 1 million people comfortably for a year or something. It's outrageous.
Yeah. It has like a really powerful X-ray cannon.
Yeah, called Thor's Hammer. And it can hold 15,000 ships.
Right.
Anyway. So, their plan is not explained other than we need the Rosenritter team, we need a galactic cruiser, and we need 200 galactic uniforms. And they're like, whatever for. Okay, but I guess you can have them.
Yeah, we also meet Greenhill at this point.
Ooh,
I
yes.
don't remember
Frederica.
I don't remember her Frederica, that's right. Because Yang really needs an aide de camp, and she's the one that is assigned to him because she has an incredible memory, apparently.
Yeah.
And
And a
she
grudge to
reveals
go with it.
yeah. She reveals to Yang that, like, he tells her his plan before he tells anybody else.
Yeah.
And she's like, "It's perfect. It's gonna work." He's like, "You're awfully confident. Why do you think, like, what makes you think so?" And she tells him that she was 14 years old at the time of the Battle of El Facil and when he evacuated all the civilians, and he was eating a sandwich and choking on it, and she gave him some coffee to wash it down, and he was furious that it wasn't tea. And she has been waiting. You can tell she's been waiting however many years since it's been to tell him this, or to have the chance to, like,
Yeah.
tell him that, "You were really rude to me a long time ago, even though you saved my life."
Yeah, and he does his little, oh, yo, yo, I didn't know I
Yeah.
was being so rude.
Yeah. By the way, I don't remember you at all.
Yeah, I don't remember that. So they just kind of like take off and they're like, all right, we'll give it a shot. Bye, everyone. And they head out to Iserlon Corridor. And they like fly away from High Nessun and then turn around and do like a bunch of warp jumps to get there. Which I
Right.
thought was a weird detail. Why does it matter if you fly away from the planet just to fly the other way instead?
I know.
Could have left that out, but that's fine. And when they get there, they send Schoenkopf and his Rosenritter team out in the little, out towards the fortress, while they're jamming communications, and go, oh, help, help. We got real beat up. You better let us in. And we're also introduced to the team that manages Iserlon, who are a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah. It's like 2 admirals who hate each other because they're both at the same rank. They're like work husbands who would be so happy if the other guy died.
Yeah.
I like every time one of them leaves, they're like, "Oh, come back, I guess."
Yeah.
And like in their head, they're like, I can't actively wish death upon them because that would be kind of rude, but I'm thinking it.
We've got von Siecht and Stockhausen. And I think it's von Siecht is the one who's in charge of the small fleet that's stationed at the station. And Stockhausen is in charge of the personnel of the station. And they sit there in the control room when Schoenkopf is like, "Help! We got real beat up bad. We need to come in and stay here for a minute. Please help." And they're like, well, we better let them in. And who's there but Paul Oberstein? And he says, "This is definitely a trap." And they're like, "Shut up, you. What do you know?"
Yeah. They all openly hate him. They're like, "God." And every time they mention him, they're like, "Ah, your salt and pepper hair and your
I
robot
can't stand
eyes.
that guy."
Fuck that guy."
And
He's like, "Fucking suit yourself then, I guess."
he's like, "Why would a ship by itself be out here in the middle of nowhere? Of course it's a trap." And they're like, "Shut up. No one asked you. Now be gone." And he's just like, "Okay."
Just like disappears into the shadows.
Yeah, it's something he's good at. And von Siecht he's like, "I'll go engage the rebel scum out there, and I'm gonna come back a hero, and you're gonna be very embarrassed, Stockhausen, that you didn't do anything. Ugh, glory's gonna taste so good, and I'm gonna eat it right in front of you." So he like gets his fleet together, and they take off to go chase the rebels that they only assume are out there. They don't know where they are. They haven't had confirmation that they're actually there, other than like the scanner kind of picking up something.
Yeah. Do they take all 15,000 ships?
Yes.
Everyone leaves.
All 15,000 ships take off, and they bring in the Galactic cruiser. And Schoenkopf is under an assumed name. And they're like, "Oh my god, what happened out there? Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yes, I'm fine, but you guys aren't."
Yeah, by the way.
He whips out his little pistol and holds the station hostage. And I think they use sleeping gas to knock out all the bazillion people who are on the station.
Yeah, there was something like the admiral who's on the station half-heartedly tries to resist with like some weapon, but the weapon systems were sabotaged somehow.
Yeah.
I don't remember what
He
that
was
was.
going because Schoenkopf had his little laser pistol to Stockhausen's head, the fat one. One of the admirals was like, "Aha, I too have a pistol, and I'll shoot you with it." Schoenkopf took out this little frisbee, and he says it was a device that when he activated it, if anybody fired any pistol in the vicinity, they would all be disintegrated.
Right. And then they just surrender the station
they're like,
immediately.
"Oh boy.
They're like, "Oh, okay, that's it for us. So fucking throw in the towel."
We don't want to mess with that. Anyway, let me show you around.
Yeah, welcome home.
And that's when all of the Alliance ships dock into the station, completely missing the entire fleet out there looking for them. And they completely take over the station because everyone was unconscious.
Yeah.
And basically get on the radio and say, "Hello, Galactic Empire fleet. Yeah, hi, we have the station now, so you can all fuck off."
Well, they're like, "There's been a mutiny on the station. You
Oh,
better
right.
come back." And Paul Oberstein is like, "This is another trap.
Yeah,
Can you
Paul
please
Oberstein
stop?"
got on one of the ships with von Siecht.
Yeah, that's right.
He's out there with Von Siecht, and when they get the message for there's been a mutiny on the station, uh-oh, you better come back and help. They're like, my
Yeah.
God, we better hurry back. Paul Oberstein is like, this is also a trap. And everyone's like, shut up, you.
Shut up, you fucking downer.
God, it's always like this with that guy. Always. And he's like, okay. And then again, he disappears into the shadows.
Mhm. All
Uh,
you can see is his, like, little eyes glinting like a cat.
I forget what gives it away, but the Von Siecht's fleet fire on Isolon, which he should know has no effect.
Yeah.
And then they use Thor's hammer, and which doesn't just destroy ships, it like turns them into particulate.
Yeah, it just, like, vaporizes them so that there's just literally nothing
Yeah,
there.
absolutely disintegrates them. And they're like, oh, so that's what it's like when we use it on them.
Yeah.
And after they do that, Shonkop is like, he turns to Yang and he's like, boy, this seems kind of rude, you know?
Mhm.
Like, this is just a massacre. This isn't a battle. And Yang is like, yeah, I know. Put me on speakerphone. And he's like, hey, guys, Free Planets Alliance here. We have Isolon. So surrender? Or if you don't want to, then just go away.
Yeah, we're not gonna do anything about it, just, like, we don't wanna vaporize any more of your ships,
Yeah,
like,
just be
you could
gone.
just you could just leave and it'll be fine.
And I think at that point, Paul Oberstein is like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. These guys are
Yeah,
idiots.
he and v the other admiral, the one who's not dead, they well, he immediately is like, "No, we can't. We have no choice but to go to our glorious deaths," and then he, like, escapes in a shuttle with Paul.
Yeah, and as Von Siecht is making this rousing speech where he's like, yes, we're gonna go to our deaths gloriously, everyone else on the bridge is like, I didn't fucking sign up for this.
Yeah, and he's, like, backing out of the room as he's saying it, "Anyways, die well."
I think Von Siecht stays though. He gets vaporized.
Does he?
Yeah,
Oh, is
because
it just Paul that
it's just
leaves?
Paul that leaves. And then they fire Thor's hammer again and everybody gets just turned to dust.
Wow.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah. Yang goes home, and he just fills teacups up with brandy and pretends he's drinking tea, and
Yeah.
Jillian's like, maybe you should just put a hold on that." He's like, "Let me drink as much
Yeah, let me
brandy as
have
I want
fucking
tonight."
brandy, man. I had a bad day.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's essentially the whole collection of what we read. Like it wasn't as dense as it was last time, but we got some juicy politicking.
Yeah.
And
I felt like I could sorry.
we got to meet some of my personal favorite characters.
Yeah.
To stop either side from muscling through Fazan. Oh. Because they it's like a combination of blackmail, like Fazan knows all the juice from both parties. And also, I think there's like a trade deal that says they can't and won't go through their corridor.
Yeah, I think, like, don't they provide pretty crucial supplies too?
Yeah.
So that nobody really wants to fuck with them because it would really screw up their respective supply chains.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I
But yeah, I
wanted
felt
to
like I could, like, really enjoy these chapters and, like, not feel like I was, like, behind in note taking. Like, it felt less of, like, a lecture
Yeah.
and more of the story, which was nice because
Yes.
last time it was very, like, the first The first bit is very dense, and I think if anybody is starting to read this book, it could feel overwhelming at the beginning where you're like, "God, is it just gonna be a bunch of names, dates, and histories for the entire time?" No.
I love that kind of stuff, though.
Oh, same.
I
If
love
I can
name
take
dates and
notes,
histories.
hell yeah. Tell me things I can take notes on.
But I also wanted to talk about how battles are portrayed in this book so far. Because in a lot of like space opera fiction, battles are usually depicted as like the superior force wins. But in this, that's not the case. Skill and superiority rarely has any factor in victory. In this, it's more exploiting mistakes and finding vulnerabilities and using those to your advantage to
Mhm.
win. And like in the the attack on Iserlohn, it was that von Siecht and Stockhausen were so like just jealous of each other to the point where they couldn't see anything else. And that
Yeah.
really lucked out. It was pure luck that those two morons were in charge of that station, that the plan went so smooth.
Yeah, if they'd been working together on the same team,
And
instead of
listen to
just
Paul.
constantly yeah, instead of just constantly trying to one up each other and, like, make it so that if they succeeded in this endeavor that the other guy would be, like, indebted to them, like, that was
Hmm.
their primary motivation for doing literally everything.
The only Yang is one of a handful of competent people, but both Yang and Reinhardt are the most competent that have ever been.
Mhm.
There's just like a handful of just lesser competence just beneath him. Like they're still really competent, but Yang and Reinhardt are supreme fucking leader of competence.
And then a bunch of old boomers who are kind of tired of having to think at their jobs
Yeah.
above them.
No one listens to any of them, even though they're always right every time.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. Until next time, I think.
Mhm. We're, like, halfway through now.
Yeah, it's not a particularly long book. It's just that all of the chapters are an hour long.
Yeah, and a lot happens in every chapter. Because every chapter is, like, separated into at least 4 parts.
Yeah.
Like, it'll say the narrator will be like 1, 2, there's, like, sub-chapters
Yeah.
within the chapters, which I think is interesting, and that's something that I experience often in a narrative structure. And I thought that I would find it disjointed, but I don't.
Sometimes it's a little confusing when, like, when I was on chapter 3 and I heard 4, I was like, oh no, was I not paying attention?
Yeah, what was I doing for the last 40 minutes? Did I just enter, like, a fugue state?
But once you realize that it is still the same chapter, you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. It's a nice delineation. It's like when people put, like, the page breaks, the 3 little dots, or
That's right, yeah.
a line,
Mhm.
or
Or in Lee Bardugo's case, a double page spread of mist with big font and an arbitrary title of what part we're in now.
it's really obnoxious. But anyway, next week or the week after next, we'll be doing chapters 6, 7, and 8.
Indeed.
But until then, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And this episode will be on YouTube next week. So I'll play you guys the theme song again while we get out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.